Welcome to TOJO Live.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, we are glad to be here with you on another Wednesday evening of TOJO Live. We want to open up with a scripture verse. This comes from Ephesians chapter 4, verse 15, and it says, "Speaking the truth in love, we will grow to become in every respect the mature body of Him who is the head, that is Christ." I love that passage of scripture because I believe it gives us one of, if not the number one mark of spiritual maturity, and that is speaking the truth in love. We don't want to compromise the truth in order to be more loving, and we don't want to compromise love in order to be more truthful. We want to marry the two, to speak the truth in love. And let's be honest, most of us have a tendency to go one way or the other, just depending on your bent. We some of us we lean more toward the truth, and we're like, yeah, love is good, but we need to make sure that everything is exactly as the Bible says. And then others of us are like, yeah, I believe in the truth, but we need to make sure that we're loving, and we need to make sure that everything is okay. And if we have to, kind of skirt around things, listen, we got to do both. And when we bring the two together, that's a mark of maturity, when we're able to speak the truth in love. Quote for the day. This comes from Babe Ruth, one of New York's very own baseball players. He once said this. I love this quote. "Never let the fear of striking out keep you from playing the game." That is absolutely awesome. Listen, Babe Ruth, from what I understand, struck out more than anybody else. But he's not known for his strikeouts. He's known for his home runs, right? Because he didn't go up there with the fear of striking out. If he did, it would have overwhelmed him because he had struck out so much. But he just went up there, and there's a cool story of Babe Ruth. We might share it later in the show or another time or something. But it's really cool about Babe Ruth and his whole attitude when he came up to the plate in a baseball game. All right, so never let the fear of striking out keep you from playing the game. Joe, what say you this evening, my friend?
Brother, it's good to be here. It is good to be here this Wednesday night. And I love the quote that you and the scripture you started off with, because I think when you said that some of us will lean one way to the other, I couldn't agree with you more. I think people that are conflict adverse are going to err more on the side of love, and people that have no problem at all with that are going to, be right with you in your face on the truth. And I think it's a delicate balance. And I know myself, sometimes I've got to work on it myself, because I will err on the side of being too loving.
Joe, I have the same leaning. I don't know if that's good with us working together, having the same leaning like that, but that is my leaning as well toward. But the cool thing about that is once you understand which direction you lean, then you are more equipped to be able to balance those two out than if you don't know. If you're like, oh, I don't lean either way. I'm pretty good. If you think you don't lean either way, you probably lean more one way than most people do.
Yeah, Tommy, I couldn't agree with you more. Years ago when I started my business career, I went to, I might have told you this a couple of years ago, I went to Dale Carnegie School for some public speaking and presentation skills and leadership training. And one of the things they taught you in management was that if you have a hard time providing, criticism, do what they call a criticism sandwich, where you start off by saying, hey, Tommy, I think you're doing a great job as you preach, and then you say, but, the one thing I'd suggest is blah, blah, blah. And then you finish up with, but, I know if you do that, it would even be better. And, guy walks away. You just basically told him he needed to improve, but he did it in such a loving way that he feels really good about it.
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
And that is
Yeah.
that's the key of being truthful and within love.
Yeah. Yeah. We use that format in Toastmasters a lot because we do evaluations. When somebody gives a speech, then you do evaluations of that speech, and we call them evaluations, not critiques. Nobody likes being critiqued.
No.
But when you're evaluated, that's adding value to you. And we always emphasize in evaluations doing that sandwich technique that Dale Carnegie taught.
I
So it
love
looks like we got Chris Petrella on here, and Tammy. You never show up as your name. You always show up as Glen Cove Christian
I
Church.
know, and I think I shared it differently, and so our audience is a little bit slower getting on tonight. We usually have a little bit higher number by now. I think I shared it as me instead of the church.
Oh.
So that's all right. They're coming. They're coming. We want to say hi to Marianne and Vinny.
Marianne and Vinny.
Chris Petrella. Deborah
Chris.
Sorechia. And I bet I know who she is. So hang
Deborah
on.
Sorechia.
And then Joseph Peterfer has joined us. And then Glen Neighbors are chiming in.
Awesome.
Tonight,
awesome.
So.
Glad to have all of you guys on here with us. Real quick, the Babe Ruth story. I've got a sermon that I'll do sometime that I tell this story in, but it's not a sermon we're doing this year, so you'll probably forget it before I do it. So, but going along with that quote from Babe Ruth, one year, and I can't even remember what year it was, but the New York Yankees were in the playoffs. It was a pennant to see who was going to go to the World Series, and it was the last game, and it was the bottom of the ninth. The Yankees had two runners on. They were 2 runs down, and Babe Ruth was up to bat, and they had 2 outs. You know, just like a movie, right? And Babe Ruth came up, and the thing about Babe Ruth that day, he had not even foul tipped a ball all day. He had struck out 3 times, never even touched the ball all day. He's up to bat. They throw the first pitch. He swings. He misses. They throw the second pitch. He swings. He misses. By this time, the Yankee fans are already walking out of the stadium. They've given up. They throw the third pitch. Babe Ruth swings. He connects. It's a home run. They win the game by 1 run, and the crowd goes wild. What's left of them? At the end of the game, an interviewer is talking to Babe Ruth, and they said, you know, Babe, you struck out all day. You never even touched the ball all day, and you had 2 strikes on you. What was going through your mind with that last pitch? And Babe Ruth said this. He said, the same thing that goes through my mind with every pitch I see. The only thing I was thinking about was hitting a home run. And I thought, wow, that's awesome, man. He'd struck out all day. He had failed miserably all day long. He was on the brink of failure when the very opportunity to go to the World Series was on the line. And yet he wasn't thinking, oh, man, I hope I hit this. Or, oh, man, I've struck out all day. I probably won't make it. The only thing he was thinking about was hitting the home run. And that is a great life lesson for all of us. I don't care how many times you've messed up, how many times you've fallen flat on your face, how many times you've failed. Every time you step up to the plate, metaphorically speaking, just think about hitting that home run.
That's a great story, brother. That is a great story. You know, the reality is not only in sports, but I think in life in general, when it comes to a defining moment like that you're either going to win it for the team or you're going to make the last out. I think I don't want to say a large majority, but a large percentage of people have the fear of failure where they don't want to make that last out and let their team down.
Right.
And to go into it like, hey, I'm going to win this game, or I'm thinking about hitting the home run as Babe Ruth did. That is a pretty cool type of attitude to have.
It is.
I will tell you that. I've tried to be positive throughout my whole life, but I will say that there have been times where I've said I don't want to make the last out.
Right. I've been there too, my friend. You know, with the people that I coach, with my individual coaching clients, fear is the number one obstacle that they have to work through. And if we can work through that fear, It's amazing what God can accomplish through us. All right, guys, we got Sonia on here with us as well. We have a trivia question for today. This one, it may be easy for you. I don't know. If it's not, it may be easy to Google. Okay. Chris Petrella said, "Fear is a liar." Chris, I would agree with you. 99.9% of the time, fear is a liar. Now, there is such thing as a healthy fear. Okay, and sometimes it may be hard to balance that out, but 99.9% of the time, fear is a liar. It tells us stuff that more than likely is not even going to happen. Most of the stuff that we worry about never happens. Most of the stuff we're afraid of never happens. Okay, it's just our fear controlling us. Zig Ziglar used to refer to fear as false evidence appearing real. Yes, and that's a very good description of it. I love that, Chris. Fear is a liar. It's false evidence appearing real. Seems very true and real to us in the moment, but typically it is a false reality.
No, yeah, I think that's Sonia's daughter, isn't it? Is that Sonia's daughter?
Is Magnolia Sawyer's daughter?
I think so. I'm not sure.
Magnolia, we're glad to have you. Hello, thanks for being on TOJO with us today.
Oh, yep. Sonia says hi, Magnolia. Yep, I think it's
awesome.
We've also got Liz O'Rourke joining us. So welcome, Liz.
Liz, glad to have you on here. Hey guys, we've got a treat tonight. Okay. Typically when we have a treat or we have a guest, it's pre-recorded and we do it so that we can play it at a later date. But this one is live, so you can ask questions. We can interact with you because remember, this is a show where we talk about your questions about life, faith, and the church. And so if you have any of those questions, feel free to ask them. You can ask in the chat box, or you could click on the link that Tandy will eventually put up in the chat box, and you can come on and talk with us as well.
Why don't you ever remind me ahead of time? That's the one thing I forget consistently every stinking week. I can't put it up right now because I got the question typed in.
Oh, yeah, I was about to forget the question, wasn't I? Let's get the question. All right, before we get to the Paul and Janet, glad to have you guys on here. Awesome. All right, here's the question. I almost forgot the question.
You almost forgot?
I already turned my paper over. All right, here's the question. You may have to be quick for this one.
Oh.
What's our scores?
Oh, yeah, let me get the scores. Chris Klingon has 4.
Chris Klingon 4.
Chris Petrella, Mary Ann, and Vinny, and Mark Hendricks have 3.
3.
We got Leo, Dan, and Karen with 2. And we've got Christine, Aura, Michael, and Eddie on the board with 1.
All right. Here is the question. How many people were saved on the ark? How many people were saved on the ark? Chris he said he has 4. He won last week.
Oh, did I forget to write him down?
Tammy may have forgotten to write you down, Chris.
Uh-oh.
We will get that corrected.
We will.
So there's a 2-way tie between the Chris's.
Okay. All right.
How many people were saved on the ark?
Do, 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 do,
Do,
do,
do, do, do, do, do. We got several people on here already. We should be, again, if you don't know it, that may be an easy one to Google.
But are you encouraging?
Paul says 9. The answer is not 9.
Oh, good try, Paul.
It is not 9. All right, Marianne and Vinny got it. It is 8.
Ooh,
it is 8.
Marianne and Vinny are in the running. Look at here.
There you go. Does that give them?
That gives them 4. Chris Petrella 4, and Chris Klingon 4.
Ooh, we got a 3-way tie at 4.
Yep.
Chris got the right answer, but it came in after Marianne and Vinny.
Yep. And Paul Peterfer said Janet was guessing 6.
6. So they got 9 and 6, but it was actually 8. That was Noah and his wife and his 3 sons Shem, Ham, and Japheth, and their wives. And so that was the 8 that were saved on the ark. And if you ever wonder what a few is, you can always run over to 1 Peter chapter 3, I think verse 21, where it talks about the days of Noah, where a few were saved in the ark, and then it says 8 in all. So apparently, according to the Bible, a few means 8. So if you've ever wondered how many is a few, there you go. You got your answer. It is 8.
Really?
So.
Oh boy.
All right. Now let's get to our treat for tonight. Hey guys, you will notice if you've been in the church building the past couple of weeks that we do have a couple of changes.
Or if you've seen me crying Sunday morning.
Or if you saw Tammy crying on Sunday morning, we do have a few changes in the church. One of our goals, a matter of fact, our number one goal for 2022 was to update and improve our online experience through our AV equipment, and we have done that through the generosity of an individual within our congregation and an organization that has gone over the top in their service.
Like over the top, y'all.
Like over the top.
Over the top.
Which is the title of a book by Zig Ziglar, by the way. But they have gone over the top in providing this and providing service for us in learning how to do this and just improving not only our online presence, but even our in-house existence as well. You see the TV screen on the front. You see the sound system in the back. The lighting system has been upgraded, and just a lot of cool things. A lot of things that I don't even know about because I'm not a techie guy. But it's gone to improve our whole experience, and so this is a very cool thing for us. And as a guest tonight, we have the founder of TechLight and Associates, who is the company, the organization that has come in and put this in, and I don't want to mispronounce his last name, but Surechia.
Okay.
Let's bring on screen DJ Surechia.
Okay, you gotta give him the drum roll.
Ooh, drum roll. Thank you guys so much.
All right. How's it going, DJ?
It's going. Thank you for having me.
Hey, glad to have you, man. And we appreciate, and I know Joe and Tammy appreciate. They've been more involved in this project than I have, and I know they greatly appreciate again, your guys' over the top service. Not only in installing things and getting them set up, but the follow-up service that you guys have provided in making sure that this equipment is working up to its potential. Because great equipment doesn't do you any good if you don't know how to run it, right?
Right?
It's like that home run instance you were talking about, what Babe Ruth was thinking about right there.
You go.
We're always thinking how to do best for our clients and our in our churches, but also just being able to do whatever we can, thinking about the next pitch. How can we make it the best for whoever we're serving at that time?
Excellent. And we greatly appreciate it.
I just got to say something. We've worked with companies at different churches and even just in our professional lives, not related to churches, and nobody handles my franticness like DJ does. DJ y'all need to pray for him. Y'all need to thank his wife for sharing him with us, because he has made more emergency trips out here to help me figure stuff out than I've ever seen before. And anytime listen, Sunday morning, the majority of my texts from DJ said, focus, breathe.
There you go.
When I'm in the back of the room panicking and crying, and Tommy's holding me to try to keep me, muffle my cry so the rest of the church doesn't hear it. And DJ's
That's
texting me saying, it's okay, we got this. Nobody else would be that nice to me. I'm just saying.
Looks like we got Christine is saying, hey, DJ. We got Andreas on here with us. Benjamin Murray is on here with us.
DJ
Sounds like
he
may know DJ or had experience with
mine.
DJ. And so we're excited to have you on here, DJ. DJ, tell us a little bit about you, first of all. Who is DJ?
Oh boy, that story. So catching up a little bit, I'm 27 years old. I have 3 beautiful children, a beautiful wife. And I've been blessed, honestly, over the years. You know, whether I know it or not, God has just, I've been very fortunate for God to provide in every step, every aspect, you know, not only personally, but for the company that, you know, we'll talk about tonight, and the ministry that's really grown into, and seeing how it's flourished, you know, God using everything in tandem together, you know, feeding my personal life to grow the ministry, and vice versa, you know, allowing things, you know, I live about like an hour to hour and a half, depending on the time of day, from Glen Cove Church. So when Tammy's telling me there's a problem and I need to come out, you know it's serious, and I will. I will look at no problem. So don't worry about that. But it's beautiful blessing, you know. Can't wait to talk more about this. This is going to be awesome.
Awesome. Now, I like the way you worded that. You referred to it as a ministry, and if you, I went to your website earlier today and kind of looked over it, and it is definitely a God-focused, a ministry-focused thing that you're doing in the technology world. For churches, and I think that's awesome. But I know there's a bit of a backstory to this. It wasn't like you woke up one day and go, "Oh yeah, I might do this." I mean, there's a development to this, a formation to that. Tell us about the formation of this ministry and how your story, personal story, intertwines with this.
100%. So over the years, so I'll kind of start from the get-go. I actually was a linguist major back when I was in college. So I had known about 10 to 12 languages. I was studying to be a translator. And I wasn't doing well in some of my classes, and I started thinking about which way should I go, and kind of had that epiphany moment. And from that point, I kind of started looking, seeing where God might have pointed me. I've been a Christian since I was 15 years old. So God has really, you know, gotten in my life, and, you know, been building, you know, myself, you know, blessing people I've been with, and just growing me, you know, spiritually.
Yeah.
So anyway, so I was taking a theater class, and we had actually started going into the roles of each person. So like sound person, lighting person, set design, painting, all the nitty gritty in it. And it caught my eye. I was like, okay, so this is kind of like just lined up perfectly. Okay, let's see what we do. And I ended up being a sound person for a project we had been working on. And I basically had fallen in love with the fact of being able to be so creative, where language, I was kind of stuck in, you know, this is what it says it is, and that's it. And the creativity aspect wasn't there. So from that point, I had switched majors. I just made the cut just to get into the program, and it was amazing acceptance into the program. They basically, more than any other program I've seen, like my linguist program, like it was what it was, and you just knew people. This one, they had they called them company meetings, department meetings, that you would actually end up sitting down with everybody and getting to know them and understanding what's new, what's going on, what's new developments, and just continually building from there. And it continually was a blessing. I actually latched onto lighting right away when I got into the studies, believe it or not. So lighting is one of my strong points. I got some uplights behind me representing a little of that. And I was, you know, again, very fortunate. God was steering me on a path. I finished my program. And we continued to to build through it. Within the program, I graduated. I had actually gotten a full ride to it was a Full Sail University in Florida for production and getting into doing live performance in that. And I was like, oh, this is going to be the next step. And then my fiance, and not unfortunately, but very fortunately, we were pregnant with our first child. And I had a choice to make because my now wife, she did not want to come down to Florida, and it creating that difficultness. Which way to go? Oh, geez, the internet crashed.
No, you're on. You're good, man.
Good? Okay.
Yeah, that happens from time to time.
That's fine. I'll keep going.
Probably a freeze, but I think we're still live.
Okay, we're still live. I hope we're still live. Hey, everybody. So I ended up turning down my scholarship, and I decided to get a retail job just to start getting my feet wet into some going on. And from there, I ended up going and I ended up working over the next 4 or 5 years, working in different AV companies in the area, getting to build my career into what it is. Had good offers, building it. And then fast forward to 2018, I was devoted to a church I had called my home church at the time. And I've spent a lot of time upgrading things and building them. And I thought, wow, this is really cool. I'm using my skills, building my church. And I was like, I wanted to pursue it further. And so me and my wife were expecting our third at the time. And we were looking, had talked to the church and seeing if a part-time position was available, or if it was because I explained I needed some financial backing to continue either building the production technical ministry that we had already built over the last few years there, or I would have to be pursuing something on a Sunday that I may not be able to give all my time, or during the week, however I had been. So the odds were not, unfortunately, in my favor, I believe, because I got a hard no from them. So from there, we prayed on it and saw which way God wanted us to go. And from there, we just, it was, I hate saying it was something that built into it, but it was something that my heart had grown right into. I'm like, how can I do this with, how can I give the best to all my churches and clients? And it was just my home church at the time. So now representing as Tech Light now, we started that. And just like it says Tech Light, technology in light, LITE. When you hear that usually means that it's like a simpler version of it. So you got the light version of an app and a full version, and we're giving, the technology light. So we're making it easier for you. You don't have to buy the full package, we're here for you. The convenience part of it. And over the last few years, it has grown. I had a full-time position. I was fortunate to work in Manhattan and doing a bunch of infrastructure cabling in hospitals and the New York City buildings. And once COVID hit, it had taken a tank on the company. Wow. Just like most people had experienced. And I was furloughed right away. Still getting calls to come in. With my 3 children, didn't know what to do. So I was just taking tech support calls and just building from there. And again, with all that being said, I had a bunch of churches that started calling me saying, hey, we need to look at our live stream. Can you help us out? I had another church that they actually went to school. And once the lockdown happened, they lost all their equipment because the school was locked down. They said, no, you can't come in. Even though they rented a portion of multi-purpose space, they said, governor's orders, we cannot let you in per that. So the church had a separate property they're looking to build on, their own building on in the next few years. And so I ended up bringing over all the equipment I had I have that we use for our live events, a portion of our company for concerts and venues. And at that point, nothing was going on. So I let them use it all, and they were able to still flourish and live stream. And we did it all during the week. Nice some post production, did some live stream production. It was a great time of it. And seeing that they have become, close friends of mine as well, as well as, a church body, as well as good friends. And now we're talking over, that was 2020. Now it's February 2022.
Right. There you go.
God has been doing good things. He's built it. He's blessed it. Continuing even when times were tough, and literally, at the last, I could say the last hour, the 11th hour, God was like, hey, don't give up. I got something for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Awesome.
it was very, very fortunate. And, it still is fortunate. It's a beautiful thing.
TJ, I love hearing your story and your testimony and the path that God has led and continues to lead you through. And, really what hit home for me was when you talked about how you had a full ride, a scholarship, and you were planning on going, and then your fiance, got pregnant, and you had to make a decision. And by the way, you made the right one. So, So I mean, I love hearing that, because throughout our lives, and I think I can speak for Tommy here, there are crossroads that we hit where we've got to make a choice. And a lot of times for me, it's been a difficult choice, and I've just couldn't make it myself. I just leaned on God, and I'm like, okay, God, this is what I believe you're telling me to do, and and I've never looked back, and I guess one thing I want to say, and we've been only working together for several weeks or a couple months now, is that one of the things I see in you, and I'm so glad that you consider what you do in ministry, because it is. It's amazing in business that if things are going great and you've got a good customer and everything works fine, you have a good relationship. But it's when things start, I don't want to say falling apart, but when gremlins hit and those are your words, not mine. when there's a hiccup, that's really when the partnership is forged. Because if everything's going okay, things could be great. But when a customer has a challenge, and this happens in my life all the time in cybersecurity, when I'm on the phone at night or on a weekend or working through a problem with a customer, when that's resolved, no one's not going to, replace my company, or they're never going to refer someone else because I went to battle with them. And brother, you have done that in a very short period of time.
Yeah,
and that's one of the reasons we wanted to have you on here, man, because you don't have to advertise ever again. Your clients, it's all word of mouth, because you just have to say, hey, call Tammy. Tammy's your vice president of sales.
You have a lifelong customer right here.
That's great.
I will say that you did come highly recommended from Nesconstant Christian Church.
Okay.
I just happened to be at an event there and noticed their system, and we had already been in the talking stages of updating our system. And I said, would it be okay if I brought our team over here to look at this and see, because their building is relatively close to our size and stuff like that. And they said, yeah, you're welcome to do that. And then he started talking about you. And I said, well, maybe I'll just call him and see how that goes. And so here we are. It all
so
was
good.
Because of a meeting there at Nesconstant Christian Church, and the service that you have provided for them is what made them want to, talk so favorably about you and the work that you've done. Which led to us, having you come in here. So that's amazing. Hey, we do want to show really quick a quick commercial for TechLight Associates and all the stuff that they do, and we're going to bring that up here right now and look at that.
right.
Amen. There you go. Just a little snippet of all the stuff that they do. More than what we've had in ours. They do a plethora of things. But again, the service that they provide in that, it's not just the equipment that they install, but the service that they provide with that I think is just amazing. So
let me just put aside too. We were under a crunch deadline. We didn't want this stretching over a weekend, so they started on a Monday and they finished up on a Saturday night. And I know at least one night they were there until after 4 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
And then turned back around and came back in at lunch that day and stayed late the next night. They worked like workhorses, and I know that DJ is short on people right now, and so they really burn the candle at both ends to try to get there and get it done. And even though we've still got a few more, as y'all know, that were there Sunday know, we've got a little bit more ways to go to get there, but we're getting there.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we'll get there.
Absolutely.
It's going to be amazing, guys. Just hang with us. Be patient.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Oh, and by the way, just a few minutes ago when Tommy disappeared from the screen, we're getting that remedy too this week. So we should be taking care of that very soon.
Yeah.
Good
With
deal.
DJ.
Many remedies in the progress. and that is, that's true. Not only, just technically, but also, I feel spiritually that, it's about the infrastructure. If the infrastructure had been set, in this case, we're talking about internet lines and, fiber optics and all that. And, you got to have the right infrastructure, and Christ being your foundation, that should be your infrastructure, and everything should stem from that.
Yeah.
Let him be the true source of what, all you do.
Yeah.
Amen.
Absolutely.
It doesn't matter whether you're in tech. You don't have to be a preacher to be able to show Jesus in your everyday life.
Oh, absolutely. Listen, God gives all of us specific gifts for his glorification.
Amen.
Whether it's preaching or computers or lights or sound or teaching or sweeping the floor or setting out signs or preparing food for fellowship, whatever it is that God has gifted you, you use that for his glory.
Ultimately.
Whether you're doing it as a volunteer or as a career, and either one is legitimate. And God equips us and empowers us to be able to do those things in order to serve him. And part of serving him is serving his people as well. So I'm interested with the linguistics thing. Like, so you speak several different languages, or?
And not as much anymore. I can understand, Spanish is probably the extent of it now, but my other ones, I used to know Arabic, Russian, India, I can't even say the name of it. Oh my gosh. But Chinese, Japanese, used to know how to read it, write it, speak it. And, unfortunately not using it over the years, it has dwindled from me, but
yeah,
it does, if I hear it, it does trigger little things in my brain, and I'm like, oh yeah, I remember that.
So you never learned Kentuckian? Because we have our own language in Kentucky.
I gotta learn it. We gotta have a class on it.
You gotta add syllables to single syllable words and take syllables out of multi-syllable words. That's the way.
It sounds a little complicated. I think I can get it though.
He's gotten it. He's gotten a good lesson over the past.
There you go. After
the
past few weeks,
you learn it by being surrounded.
There you go. Exactly. DJ,
Oh,
what are some of the obstacles that you've had to overcome in establishing your own company, your own ministry?
In establishing it really is, marketing. Probably one of the hardest things is getting the name out there is how do I hate saying sell in this aspect, but I have to sell myself to a church, to an organization, to a company of why choose us. Why should we be your go-to people? And, it does make it very difficult because I've hired marketing people, and even they struggle trying to find it because it's almost a merge of, you're talking like Apple and a church and mesh them together. It's like, how do you advertise that? How do you market that? And then on top of that, now creating the the services behind it. It's like, how do you market that? And it really, yes, word of mouth is one of the best ways, and also it's just showing what we can do. What can we provide for you? How we can provide it. One of our biggest things is services is being able to service service and maintenance equipment, as well as what we really stood on in the beginning is, hey, what's going on? You tell us what's going on. Okay, cool. We'll be right in. We'll take care of it. Don't, tell me what, is it sound problems, speakers? Is it lights? Is it networking? Is it, hopefully not your toaster? Going around that. It was actually a joke.
They really fix everything, don't they?
We did. It was actually a joke. We were fixing a couple of receptacles once at one of our locations, and our meter had actually died. So we're like, shoot, how do we test to make sure this works? So we go in the kitchen and we're looking around. Sure enough, a toaster. I'm like, is there bread anywhere? And no joke, we went around toasting it to make sure that it worked. To make sure it was once it grabbed, and then the last one we just left the toasting, and they toasted. Then it was hysterical. We had a blast, and that's something else that, that's something else that my guys, I always, I don't want to say pride, but show my guys on, you can have fun, like. We don't have to be serious people and have to worry and do it that way. No. We can have fun while we work, as long as we get the job done in a timely manner. We can do it and enjoy every minute of it, because it's a different job. It's a different different career. It's something that you wouldn't think of that you could do, especially building. Our primary clientele is churches, and being able to build them, but it's very fulfilling, and seeing, because there's a long-term effect of that, right, to go into seeing my wife's a product of that, and seeing like at one church I had volunteered at before I had started my ministry. I know lighting psychology, and I got into color theory and a bunch of other lighting studies that I found from the 60s, and I found some different things done. And I had tried it at this one church. I was fortunate enough they actually had a setup like this already. I didn't have to set it up. I didn't have to go crazy with it. And like I said, my wife was a product of it. And the same day I saw so many people come to Christ because of literally like the psychology of it, and God blessing me to have that knowledge to set it up right. And it's all about the words, the message, the music, and it all came together. And that I remember that day very well, and it sticks with me. So many lives were changed that day. It was incredible.
That's awesome.
That is great.
Yeah. But to answer your question, one of the biggest some of the biggest challenges, also, is, especially now because of the COVID situations, getting guys, being able to find guys that, have, either some skill or would like to learn a little bit. So, I'm always seeing that eagerness in them, and also finding the guys who, want to do what we do and continue building. This is more, what we do is like more a, I say in the nicest way, being from New York, but, we're of a Southern thing. Like, I know there's companies down South that do work like we do with, AV and lighting and churches. And up here, it's not too common. And, it's a fortunate situation to be in, and God has just blessed us, and we just want to be a blessing back, as much as possible.
That's awesome.
Well, you are. You are.
Yes,
your company is a blessing, and what you said is true. God blesses us so we could bless others. And that is so true. Tommy talked about it before. How we're each equipped with certain talents, and how we use those, I believe, in part, is how our character is going to be looked at one day. You know, I gave you all this, whether it's talent or treasure or whatever, and here's what you did. You gave it, you shared that with others, you blessed others, or you stockpiled it, and you were selfish with it. So I think that's great. Hey, one thing you said about having fun at work, and it's not all. I couldn't agree with that more. And Tommy and I have a blast with Tammy, sometimes with Tammy, but you know, we're working together, and it reminded me, and I used this in one of my sermons. I think Confucius said this, but it's certainly probably been repeated by a lot of times. But it was said that if you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life.
Yep.
If you love what you do, you'll never. And I tell you something.
So much.
That is the truth. You know, if someone wakes up every day and says, you know, I can't stand my job, I can't believe we got to go back, they got to quit that job. They shouldn't be doing that.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
It's not good for their health. It's not good for their surrounding loved ones or whatever. But it's so true.
Now try to line something up before you quit. Don't quit today. But begin taking those steps toward it. You don't want to spend 40 years of your life doing something that you're miserable doing. It, as Joe said, it affects your health. It affects your relationships. It negatively affects everything. That paycheck may look nice, but listen, money is only so valuable. There are things more valuable than money.
Yep.
And money has to be a part of the conversation, obviously, but it is not the most controlling factor in the conversation. So, yeah, love that. Love that, Joe. Appreciate you sharing that.
Bet.
Hey, Andreas has a question. Does DJ recommend any apps or methods for learning new languages?
By the way, he says lighting psychology sounds fascinating.
It does.
Lighting psychology and color psychology.
Oh yeah.
Wow, it really is.
And I have actually, I haven't studied it a whole lot, but marketing going into, because that affects marketing as well. The color combinations that you use in your marketing psychologically has different effects on people. And so that we might do a whole show just on that sometime. That is a very fascinating thing. So you can address both of those. First of all, do you recommend any apps or methods for learning languages? And second, maybe talk a little more about the lighting psychology.
So yeah, for languages, I mean, one thing I remember that I was able to study very well on, and how I was able to learn as many, is it was about correlation. So if I was trying to learn a word or a phrase, I mean, it always started with letters, is finding a way that resembled something. So whether it resembled a color, if you're saying a word and it sounded like orange somehow, or blue, or, you know, apple juice, something like that, it would, you know, it would stick with you. And then it's always about the correlation. That's how at least my brain works, is a lot of the correlation between saying one thing, it triggers another. And, you know, oh, wow, you know what? What I said there, you know, if I was learning Russian, for example, and I wanted to learn, I learned whatever end of the correlating word worked, then I would read it. And then, yes, apple juice would jump in my mind when I'm reading it, but at least I would be able to remember that word. You know, and it made more sense to me, you know, eventually than suppressing it after doing it so much. That little jingle sits there, but you don't hear it as much. You can just read it. The answer to that. And now then, you know, it's been a while. There actually is, and I use Google Translate a lot, and there is, I believe Google Translate actually integrated it recently, that if, say, I was in Chinatown in New York City, that I can't read the sign, that you actually can take a picture, not even a picture, use your smartphone and actually look at what you're looking at, and it will translate it on your phone and tell you what it says. Technology is amazing. There you go, a little tidbit. You guys can download that later.
There you go. There you go. That is awesome.
And yeah, I mean, lighting psychology, we'll go into that, Tommy. I think we need a day just on that.
Yeah, that would be awesome, because, you know, I love psychology of any kind. So that would be a fascinating conversation to have. Let me ask you this, DJ. We're getting close on time. We got about 8 minutes left here.
Yeah.
How has your faith grown through this whole process, this story that you've talked about, the transitions that you've gone through? How has your faith grown through all this?
It's been tested. it's been tested very much so. More than you're very welcome, Andreas. I see your comment. It's been tested honestly very much more. You know, both spiritually, both spiritually and financially, my faith has been tested. You know, seeing where God has put us, situations, and then, He either bless us in abundance or, get us, we're in the desert in the drought. And, there had been times that me and my wife, didn't know what to do, and we prayed on it and just looked and just trusted God with it. And up to the 11th hour, like I said, God has, he come knocking at my door and saying, "Hey, I got this for you. Can you look into it?" And I'm like, "Okay, sure, let's go with it." And God, like I've had great relationships blossom out of things like that, and God continues to build that. But my faith ultimately, it's the trials and the tribulations always. He provides, and then it's just about trusting him to get through the next seasons, whether it's a slow season or a busy season or a crazy season. And, just trusting we're going to get through it, just like, any company does. But at the same time, sometimes, not all people who run companies are believers. And, I think that's where we're very fortunate enough to, to have that, myself and my team. And, our team comprises of, we got about 5 people that help in our office. And we got about 6 to 7 techs that float around with us. And, we keep this, we keep it going. And our faith, we keep it in, we try to keep it intact, and we don't try to lose sight of the vision either. We have, one of my close friends. He's one of our visionary people who helps us keep on track. Like, he's always that reminder to me, to any of my guys, like, hey, don't forget, this is what we do. Like, this is why we do it. Don't ever forget why we do it.
Right.
Like, even in the busyness, like, okay, we got to get it done. We got to get it done. But don't forget why we do it. It's ultimately to praise the Lord, to have people come to God because of it. And, being able to create a distraction-free environment for our clients, for who we are able to bless, whether it's a conference room, a church, a hotel, you name it. We want technology to work as seamless as possible, and also to be distraction-free, so that I can, if I can sit in a service and actually pay attention to the service, how it was intended and geared towards, like I know I built my systems to be, then I know I did my job right, because I can actually focus on the message and actually really get something from the message. Too many times we got, there's things that have, we're always fixing, of microphones feeding back, slides not operating properly, things not connecting properly, and that's where my
not coming on, internet not working,
things like that. And our goal is to have the tech know how to get by it, and whether it's a temporary fix to get through a service or an event, or to get to the next step,
right?
Whatever it is, and we get it fixed, remedied, and golden, and we know God's gonna take care of it.
Excellent. Hey, one more question I want to ask you before we wrap up here. Yeah. You've talked about your story and the decisions that you've had to make moving forward and going through those transitions, the obstacles that you've overcome. What advice do you have for our viewers about following God's lead? Maybe God is leading them to do something that is out of the ordinary like this, to step out of that comfort zone. What would be your advice for our viewers about following God's lead?
Lead it all the way. You got to let him guide you, even when you don't know where he's going to go. I was actually sitting with a friend today, and we were talking about some decisions, and it was the same thing as letting God take the wheel, give up the control. I know it's very hard. Even sometimes, I'm a controlling person. I try to make sure all my dots are in a row, all my T's are crossed. And, it's about letting God ultimately, like, even though those times of drought that, we faced as a company, and personally, that we're able to get through it and letting God do it. Like there were so many times, I'm praying, like, where is the next step, or, what's the preparation that needs to be done? Like clearly it's like, God works while we're waiting all the time.
Yeah.
God's always working, and he's going to continue to work in our favor as long as we trust in him, as long as we, and we're doing his work. He's going to provide, and he's going to be faithful to the end. God says, he's the guy who's the start and the finish, the Alpha and Omega, always, no matter what you do. It's incredible just seeing it. So, ultimately, my advice is, follow him and give the control to him. It's the steering wheel's hard, I know, and I struggle with it still, but let God take it, and he'll guide you exactly where you need to go.
All right. Hey, that's excellent, guys. Just let God take control. It's a lot easier said than done. But when we do it, great things happen. So, hey, man, we've got about a minute left. Joe, you got any closing words for us, my friend?
Well, I just want to thank DJ for joining us tonight, as well as all the support that you have and continue to provide. Yeah. And no, it's just great. And brother, it's been great working with you too. It's just been a pleasure getting to know you and just what you do and as a person. So thanks for your time. And then Tommy, again, I love Wednesday nights. This is one of my favorite times of the week to get together. Definitely looking forward to Sunday's sermon as we wrap up our first sermon series of the year. Let me tell you about my Jesus, which is the theme of our year. So Tommy, maybe you could tell us a little about Sunday.
Absolutely. Hey, this Sunday we're going to be talking about avoiding the people pleaser trap. Okay, because that's an easy thing to fall into, especially when we're trying to evangelize. Because sometimes we talked about that love truth thing earlier. Sometimes we will tend to kind of compromise the truth to lean toward that love side in order to please people, to go, okay, if it's like this, will you come? We want to give them the true package between truth and love. And so we're going to look at avoiding that people pleaser trap as we are telling people about Jesus. DJ, we greatly appreciate you coming on here and being with us, my friend. Thank you very much. And again, we may have to have you back on sometime to talk about the psychology of lighting and colors and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Hey, guys, we do want to remind you that this Sunday is our bake sale. If you could participate in that by baking some goods for us, we would greatly appreciate that. Those could be dropped off at
Sunday morning, 8:30. Chris Petrello will be ready for you in the basement.
Chris Petrello will be ready for you in the basement at 8:30 on Sunday morning. If you could drop those off, if you need to drop them off earlier, are they able to do that?
Contact Chris.
Okay, contact Chris Petrella. And if you don't know how to contact Chris Petrella, get in touch with me and I'll help you get in touch with him. All right. And be ready to help out, to give donations for your bake sale in preparation for the Super Bowl and for Valentine's Day. Joe, you got
Tommy, one more thing. Beginning this Sunday, masks are going to be optional. So if you're comfortable wearing a mask, continue to do so. And if you prefer not to wear a mask, it's no longer a mandate in our church. So look forward to seeing everyone on Sunday. DJ, my brother, thanks so much. God bless you all. We love you. Have a great week.
All right. We'll see you guys. Love you all.
Thank you for joining us.